as far as demand goes in the number of devices that we have in our county, which means we have to manage all those devices and make sure that they're patched, make sure they're updated and working properly for all the users that use them. And so it's just one indicator of our demand that we have, but there's a couple other indicators as well. The other indicator that is that bottom left graph, which is our help desk tickets. And we've only been using this help desk system for about 4 years now. So you can see on that graph, the help desk tickets that we have every single year. It's a pretty good indication of how often we're getting called, how many tickets we're getting from the users on different issues that they're having. The bottom right graph is just a breakdown of those tickets. It's not very useful other than what I liked on that graph is it shows that it's pretty consistent. There's not a time of year that there's more tickets or less tickets. It's very consistent throughout the year. There's a few spikes here and there when we have some major issues, but other than that, it's relatively consistent. The top right graph is a function of the budget for the number of devices that we serve. So as you can see, it had been trending down. This year, we do have some increases, namely an additional staff member. And so that's why you can see it's bumped just a little bit. The actual number on that, bump up puts us right about the 2019 level, actually just a little bit under the 2019 spending level. So that gives you kind of an overview on the overall operations of the department. So this year, my budget has 4 significant items of change, 3 significant increases and 1 decrease. Those items would be the operating expenses. I call them OpEx or CapEx, capital expenses, and then salaries and staffing and vendors. So maybe start with operating expenses. That would be the software line item. There's about a 30% increase in that this year. And that is an unknown. We may or may not use all of that. The problem with the software line item is one massive portion of that is our solutions software. And that solutions software, I don't get the next year's contract on that until end of May, early June. So I really don't know what that will be. There has been some indications this year since Solutions was bought out by another vendor, a national vendor, that they may reevaluate their cost structures. Their main competitor is Tyler Technologies, is more than double their cost. So it wouldn't surprise me if a national company would come in and reevaluate their cost structure. So I put a significant increase in there. Again, I don't know. The rest of the software that I purchased out of that line is looking more like 10% increase. So we may or may not use all of that, but again, I don't know what that will be until May or June. The operating expense line is what is labeled as the hardware line, and that one has about an 8% increase, and that does not cover the entire inflationary increase that I'm seeing right now. But I'm trying to do some things to offset that cost just a little bit, in hopes that over time hardware costs will come back down again. I don't know that will happen. But if it does, then we're kind of kicking the ball down the road just a little bit. So doing some things like adjusting my hardware rotation plans, extending warranties on things that can last a little bit longer, can save a little bit of money there and offset some of that cost just a little bit. So then the next major item for increase is salaries and staffing. And so I've looked at this several different ways this year. You know, I've evaluated salaries based on various different metrics, IT professionals in government jobs in Iowa. I've considered IT professionals in schools in Iowa. I've considered IT professionals in the private sector both in statewide and locally. I know some IT managers for local businesses. I've reached out to them and asked them, what are you guys doing for pay raises over the last 2 years? And the research that I've found has been an average of 9 to 12%, depending on the sector. Private's a little bit higher, government's a little bit lower than that, but it's been in that 9 to 12% range. So last year, I budgeted about 6% last year. And I know that several departments in the county got 6%. We were awarded 5% last year. So in looking at all those things and evaluating all that, I feel like we are on the lower end of the increase range. So I know that you guys had mentioned a 5, 6, 7% type of thing. I came to the conclusion of, I felt like this was a bit of a compromise, but I felt like it was fair at 8.2%. So that's where I ended up on salaries. Happy to have a discussion on that.
So Andrew, on your second line, your other full-time, how many employees are we talking about there?
Yep. So that would be the other piece of that puzzle, Mark. So staffing would be an additional staff. So, I've come to you guys for the last 3 years during budget hearings and performance reviews and said, we're beyond our max capacity right now. And so what's happening is we're working overtime. We're doing lots of extra hours. We're getting called out on weekends, nights, to a significant portion. And so again, we're to the point where we're beyond our capacity. So what I'd like to do is add an additional help desk person. And I know I've sent you guys a memo discussing that in the last month or so, but I do have some options on where that staff member could go and things like that, but that's to assist in our demand. Our demand is quite frankly just above
Andrew,
what we can handle.
I know when GIS was, Nicole was hired, it was to do GIS and to do some help desk, but mainly to do GIS. Wanting to know, do you have the numbers and what she's handling, or?
Yeah, so she is handling about 5% of our tickets right now. And those are the very basic tickets of password resets. She does manage our door control systems, and our phone systems. So those are the things that if there's any issues on those password resets, phones, those things, she does take those on. She started to learn some other things as well, but she's also at capacity as well with the workload that she has with both GIS and the other additional IT items that we've added to her. I would say that gave us an extra 2 years of extending this on, giving her some of those very basic IT tasks.
And then with public health downsizing, we have approximately 15 employees that are no longer in that area. I would think that these numbers would have to be coming down some.
They aren't. Public health was, a lot of those users in public health didn't require, they have computers and everything, and yeah, they require updates and all that stuff, but they weren't heavy help desk asks. You might say they don't generate a ton of help desk requests as much as some of the other offices do.
Okay, so where are most of the help desks coming from?
We have a breakdown of that. It's pretty well everywhere. Some of the largest consumers of technology would be the auditor's office with the election equipment. Those take a ton of effort. Sheriff's office, think about all the pieces of technology. You've got, Jason must have left, but think about all the pieces of technology an officer has on them. Body cams, cameras in their cars, tough books. They've got dozens of items in their possession for each one. So sheriff's office is a large consumer of technology and also a large, that's most of our after hours stuff that we do, requests anyway. Obviously, we do every single week. You guys may or may not know this, but we spend between 4 and 5 hours every single weekend work rebooting servers, patching servers, doing all that stuff. Every single weekend that happens. So we are working Saturdays and Sundays every single week. Myself or Andrew Myers are.
Are you rotating then?
Both. Sometimes we rotate. Sometimes I take a Saturday, he takes a Sunday. Just kind of depends on the week. If one of us is gone, then the other one's doing it all.
Is that a scheduled reboot or just something that comes up? I
We
mean,
schedule it.
schedule it?
Yeah, we have
Okay.
a maintenance window scheduled. Yeah, and when the auditor's working a little late, then we have to push our window back
Yeah, you
just a
can't
little
be at
bit.
400 around 9 o'clock on Sundays. And on Saturdays, you gotta be careful. It might just go away for a while.
So Andrew, give me a sense here on your staffing. What raises have you built to Andrew? Have you gone 8.2 on him as well?
Yep, so I did 8.2 plus I wanted to add just a little bit more to him to be the manager of that help desk position. And so I think I added maybe $2,000 or $3,000 more to add on to that.
If you have a breakdown, just if you could tell us the breakdown, because we're just seeing a total of 142.5.
Yeah, so his would be the current 71.9 plus 8.2. I'm sorry, I don't have the math in
No,
front of me. right
percentage
now.
is fine. And then GIS, Nicole's gonna be in the other one.
Yep, so that's
But just give-
Department 18 and that's 8.2 as well.
Okay, so 8.2 across the board for your staff is your proposal.
So what would your proposed new person's, what would their starting salary be or?
I put in there room for up to 60. I probably in that range.
The 60 range?
It might be a little bit less. A lot of times when we do these types of things, we hire them at a little bit less with step raises. That way, if they're not working out or whatever, we can deal with that way.
I know we've had this discussion, Andrew. It's not only the issue of, where do we come up with the funds, but it's a logistical issue too. Where do we physically place these people?
Sure. Before I answer that question, I wanted to give you the last piece, which was the decrease. So the decrease was the vendor line item. And the reason I feel like I can decrease that line item on how many dollars that we spend with a vendor, I took it from 30, I think it's from 30,000 to 12,500. Was if I get the help desk person, I do feel like I can decrease my vendor ask on that. So that certainly doesn't offset the entire cost of an employee, and I wouldn't assume that it would, but it can decrease the amount of vendor requests because it frees up time, my time and Myers' time for projects that we're currently contracting with contractors.
So Andrew, this is kind of combination between GIS and IT. I know we have talked about in the past, like maps and the requests and some of those, charging a fee for some of that.
Mhm.
Is
Yeah.
there any, I don't see any revenue generation. I was just,
There is revenue generation budgeted still. We haven't started generating revenue on the GIS side of things yet. I haven't gotten a clear answer from our attorneys on that piece yet, on if we can or not. We have started charging revenue for, we have for years supported Knoxville PD and Pleasantville PD to access our shieldware system. And so in conversations with Jason and with the Knoxville chief and the Pleasantville chief, we decided that it was appropriate for IT to start charging for that maintenance as well. So we are generating, we started that this year, And I kept that in there for next year for that. I do have the revenue line in for GIS still. And then we also we started just selling out some of our old PCs as well for revenue, but that doesn't really generate a ton of revenue. It's maybe a couple $1,000s. We started that last year as well. But the biggest thing on the GIS is quite honestly, we have to make a policy on it, and it's a bit of a gray area on whether or not who and how we can charge for that. And I'm getting mixed results or mixed answers on that. So I just haven't had a kind of time to push that further.
And if you can, what's the projected revenue stream?
Because I'm not seeing it, I guess.
It's on the last page.
It's on the,
The next- And what page?
I don't have that sheet in front of me. I don't remember what I, Department, B 52, I think, Jake, is where I have it.
So the revenue pages would be
Yeah,
after the end of
52.
the.
It's the last page.
Yeah,
I don't remember what I had, maybe a couple thousand.
10,000. Yep,
How much?
10,000.
10,000.
10,000 total, but I think 6 of that is law enforcement.
as law enforcement. stuff,
Yeah.
Yep, okay.
Thank you. Jake.
Andrew, I mean, obviously, speaking on behalf of myself, and I know that you have asked several times, I would like to see where we're at with the 15 people down, in public health and seeing where that goes. I know that, we're looking at the road department, but just to be able to give everybody the extra help all the time, we just don't have the dollars to be able to do that. Because when you think about adding another person, we also have to think of sustainability and the matrix in which we're looking at that. So that's kind of where I am at with that. In regards to your 8%, I'm probably not there either when looking at that. I think that is higher than what we're looking for the others. And we know that caused some morale issues last year. That was one of the reasons when I did my proposal, I did what I did. So, but I'll let the others speak.
So if I can speak to that just a second, I'm not exactly sure how the Board of Supervisors determines what is an appropriate staffing level for a department. All I can give you is the facts of this is what it takes to run my department. And at the service level that we are doing it today, I do feel like if we do not have an additional staff member, I'm going to have to start cutting service. Whether that is after hours service, whether that is, maybe we start rebooting servers during the day. So we're not doing that on weekends. It's getting to the point where we're putting in a lot of extra hours, and we're getting burned out from it.
What does that mean for operations, Andrew?
If we reboot a server during the day, everybody's down.
For how long?
5 minutes, 10 minutes, hour, 2 hours. I mean, it takes us about 4 hours per weekend to reboot all the servers.
From an efficiency standpoint, all these extra overtime hours, are they tied to predominantly those things? Help desk, reboots, or is it a variety of?
It's
everything.
anything and everything. I would say we get probably each myself and Andrew Myers probably each get anywhere from 4 to 6 after-hour calls per week, in addition to the weekly server reboots.
Well,
So that would be, and then we also schedule ourselves for after hours as well.
Right.
For projects and things like that, so that we don't.
Are you
we don't
flexing
take
any
things
of
down.
that?
No.
so a couple things, and I do appreciate what you're saying. Workloads, staff, all things we have to consider right now. I think in any of our salary proposals right now, 2 that we have, none of them go this high for IT. I think Keisha's around 5. I think I'm around 5 in mine. So I don't see us getting to 8.
Mhm.
So tell me what that means. I mean, this is like in any review, You're recommending a certain salary level. We respect that. We're looking at the overall budget. We're looking at revenue projections. Although they look substantially, we look very healthy. We know that we have committed dollars to certain projects, Road 92, Junction 92, other projects. So those dollars that show up on the general fund, some of those dollars are already spoken for. So if we go to 5 for IT and can't get to the additional staff member for whatever reason, and you have to scale back on your on-call 24-hour service, what gets prioritized then?
You guys tell me that, I guess. I mean,
Wouldn't it be law enforcement? I mean, law enforcement, you're on 24/7 anyway, right?
yep,
I mean, that would
Yep.
be, that's a given.
Yep.
So regardless of anything, law enforcement, what else? What else would we consider to be essential?
well, I mean, a lot of the things that we do after hours are for security things, patching, upgrades, those things that keep us safe and secure. You know, we don't want to be that Des Moines school system that has to shut down for several days. And they're still not even recovered yet completely. Those are the things, and I'm not saying that we never will be that, but we do everything possible to try to keep security top of the mind and on the forefront. And so we're very conscious about patching, making sure everything is up to date. It takes a significant amount of time and effort to do that,
Yeah.
which the users don't even see. We're doing all those things in the back end. That doesn't generate a single help desk ticket, doing all that work. Patching projects, none of that stuff is in help desk tickets. It's taking us anywhere from 3 to 4 months just to install new computers because we're doing them in between all of our tickets and help desk requests. And so, whereas it used to take a couple weeks to a month to do a computer replacement rollout, which we do 3 or 4 of those a year, now it's taking us 3, 4, 5 months to do them already, just because we don't have the time to dedicate 3, 4, 5 hours to install somebody's new computer for them.
Madam Chair,
Yes, Sheriff.
hey, sorry, I had to leave there, but I pulled over here on the side of the road. I was listening. I pulled over to speak right now. I just got to tell you, I mean, the number of after hours and the number of times that they have helped us continue for deputies to be able to do their job is tremendous. I mean, both Andrews are always available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to answer our calls. If there's something going down, if a deputy at 2 o'clock in the morning, if we can't do stuff on these tough books or, you know, like you mentioned, the body cameras or car cameras, that's huge. So tomorrow in my presentation, I have some ideas or some different things too, in regards to even my communications director. But I would just ask, you know, either at the 8% increase for them, if you don't do the additional staffing, or if you look at the additional staffing, I guess please keep an open mind on that until I come tomorrow to be able to have a chance to present, because I may have some ideas that may kind of free up some money or utilize some money in regards to that. But I can't say enough of what great work they do. And I do think they do go a lot of times unnoticed, you know, late at night, or the number of hours that go in there. So I just wanted to put that in there before you guys make final decisions on raises or additional people. We'll talk about it a little bit tomorrow on my budget presentation, if that's okay.
All right. Thank you, Sheriff.
Yeah, and Jason.
Yep.
So I think all of us are keeping an open mind, but I think in fairness to the people presenting, we should be transparent about where we are.
Oh, yes. No, I agree with that, but
making the case, Andrew's making the case, maybe you've got some additional info.
Yep.
Well, we'll always be open to that.
All right. Thank you.
You know, you brought up the question, how does the board determine staffing levels of departments? I don't think that's the question that we look at, Andrew. Is how do we fund those requests? That's what we're looking at. We're not telling people how they should be staffed. It's how we're going to pay for it.
That's extremely well said, Steve.
Yeah, and I understand that, Steve. And, you know, I consider both my department and other departments who have added staff as well. To Keisha's point, you asked, if public health decreasing staff has decreased our workload. I can tell you since October, it has year over year, I've been tracking it month to month, and it has not decreased from a year ago, October, a year ago, November, a year ago, December.
But it surprises me with I'm just speaking with the computer side of it. I figured that's 15 computers that you don't have to handle. And what if they had laptops and all that? I mean, to me, I guess I'm surprised it's not decreased that.
But we've continued to add more in every other department. So it's more than made up for that difference in every other department. As far as the actual technology demand, you can see the numbers right there in that graph. Our number of devices in the county have still increased even with that decrease in public health.
I was just wondering when you took the snapshot.
Oh, we got
I took it
we got a
yesterday.
question. Kim, did you have something?
No, I just thought I would tell you that we currently have 22 computers and laptops that are being managed. And before we lost MCH and WIC, we had 34. Actually 37 before. So it went from 37 to down to 22. Computers, laptops, etc. So I don't know if that makes a difference in this or not, but
Thank you.
Thank you. Very good.
Well, we do appreciate it. There's no further questions or if anybody.
Did we answer your questions, Steve, or do we need to talk about the space thing that
Well,
you and I had
that-
talked about.
if you were to increase your staff, there is a logistical problem of where we physically put them.
Yeah, so I mean, I have an idea. It's certainly not, I'm sure there's other options out there, but the idea that I've talked to you about and Jake about was there's an additional space next to Nicole's space right now. That is an old jail cell. Currently, it's being used as Jake's voting equipment storage.
So you've had discussions with Jake? about
Yes,
it.
we have
Okay.
talked about it. And that could very easily, and I've talked to Chris, that could very easily be turned into an office space. It just needs a network connection in there and maybe just a little bit of paint and stuff, but that could be easily turned into office space. That would obviously relocate Jake's voting equipment storage. And so
So there's no big heartache on
Well,
that?
My heartache would be if I didn't have access to that in our building. I understand realities and that fourth floor room does seem like a very viable option.
Yep, so then the other option, so then the location that we talked about was there's a space on fourth floor that could be used to store that stuff.
From
There's
our
some
work
benefits.
center.
Yep, that the benefits to that is it's a little bit bigger space. Would have a little bit more room for them to test.
Okay, so
their
we're clear
equipment.
on this. What space on the fourth floor are we talking about?
It's the space that was designated for the DHS office.
But we don't know what's happening there yet.
They still
correct?
have not moved. I don't know where you guys are at on that.
What about the old county attorney's office? What's in that?
That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I also think we need to think about
That's not the same
security,
space
and
I'm
I
thinking.
think that there's.
Yeah,
I
so
don't know
that,
that we need to go into full description at this point, do we, on?
yeah, so
what we're thinking about.
there's space on the
That's fine.
fourth floor. You guys know what I'm talking about. It gives multiple locks and things. It meets the requirements that the Secretary of State requires of our voting equipment.
Okay.
It gives Jake some space to overflow during testing purposes. We all know there's a conference room on fourth floor. They could very easily bring stuff into there if they needed to add temporary space while testing, those types of things during election times. So that would be an option. I know that the DHS, and I get a little confused on which side is which on the DHS, but the side that we're required to provide space for, They, I believe, are fully remote right now. And I don't know that they ever intend to come back from remote. We have put IT equipment in, phones and things, and they have not used those in months.
Yeah, that's a
So
whole different,
it-
that's a whole different discussion then.
So we've thought about the space issue at least a little bit.
So yep, all right, no further discussion? Entertain a motion to, do we need to do for a motion of close or just
No.
go on? Okay, all right. Thank you, Andrew. Appreciate that.
Okay.
Recorder, Naomi. Here, just a second. There you are, number 7.
Morning.
Good morning. Naomi, if you would like to just give us where you're at on your budget
Sure.
and if there's what you're looking at increases, kind of similar what we did with
Right,
Andrew.
yep. So not a whole lot has really changed, from last year. The biggest one that I want to talk about is on the expenditure worksheet, page 3. And that is regarding, the recorder special fund. So it's not money from the general fund, it's a special fund that the recorders have. It comes from $1 of every recorded document. That's how that is funded. And so in order for me to use that money, I have to budget for it. And so that's why that is an increase from last year. I plan to use that money to begin the process of digitizing the records in my back room.
Okay, great.
And so if I don't use it all, I don't lose it, it's still there. But obviously, if I want to use it, I have to budget for it.
It's
Dick was
excellent.
kind of touching
yeah.
upon those special funds yesterday, so. That's sort of the biggest change in there. And then if you want to, we can go to salaries if you want to.
Yes, please.
So my deputy is currently at 60,000. And so I'm gonna bump her up so where she would be at about 81%. So not the full 85 yet. And then
Is that like item number 2? Where we, do you,
that would be the third one down,
Deputy.
deputies.
oh, there it is. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it doesn't change. Maybe I'm looking at it wrong.
Because she was making 60. She was not at the 68,795.
So you're.
So what,
okay.
yeah, what Keisha's saying is here, we've got on our
Mhm.
re-estimated 68,795, and then the budget says 68,795.
Right, and that's what
Because
she's going to go up to.
You bumped her to that.
Mm-hmm.
So what, the budget was higher than what's actually being used.
Correct.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
22 was
Got it.
60
Yep.
there,
Got it.
right.
So she's at 81%. Okay.
Correct. Mm-hmm.
Yep, thank you.
And then for the regular employees, so that covers 3 employees. The amount that I'm proposing will give me the flexibility to give up to 7% increase if it's justified. And then it also will give some wiggle room for promotions or any future turnover, which I hope does not happen.
Okay, I need to understand this one, Naomi. I've got a,
Because we got to.
I got a negative 4.76%.
That's what I got.
So last year it was budgeted at 126,000, and this coming year I'm budgeting for 120.
For the same staff.
I have all new employees.
Okay, so we're gonna have a because we've got new people with salaries coming
Correct.
down.
Yep.
But you're still gonna give raises.
If it's justified, come July
so
1st.
again,
what's
it's
the number?
underutilized budget
It's-
room, right?
Yeah,
The
I
budget room.
I
Yeah.
get that. So
So-
can you give me an idea in your whole department, what you're thinking about for raises? What would that equate to?
Are
honestly,
you doing
I-
the bucket? Are you doing within the bucket? And then are you looking at a 5% bucket? And then,
And
what
then
you-
some might go up to,
Yeah,
yeah,
you're
some
gonna,
might be
you're
lower
gonna
or
spread
higher.
that out.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay.
got
Mhm.
it.
all right.
Got it. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you.
And that I'm gonna evaluate when I do employee evaluations in June, so.
So this, you've set a standard now for everybody else that they should bring their requested salary total down. I like that. I like that. Chris is going,
I-
what,
You know,
how do I follow that?
I have all new staff, it's just, that's just how it worked out for me, so.
Yeah.
Appreciate you.
So that first line, Naomi, covers 3 staff?
Free, correct. Mhm.
Okay, got it.
Right, and then yours.
And that-
Amy, what did you have?
Mine, I did half of the comp board.
Okay, all right.
Mhm.
Very good.
Which I believe is 4.6%.
Any other major items that we need to note?
Not for expenditures. I mean, revenue. The recorder's office isn't a huge revenue generator. It just isn't.
Isn't there like every third year or something, there's more revenue because of, is it boats or something?
Boat renewals are every 3 years. Yep. So that won't be until 2025. Our revenue is somewhat dependent on the economy and the real estate market, which can be hard to predict sometimes. So revenue I am anticipating will be a little bit lower than years past, just the way the real estate market is. But otherwise, there aren't too many significant changes there.
Good.
Yep, that's it.
Well, I don't have any major questions then,
Okay.
other than, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. Yeah.
New role?
Mhm.
Office doing well? You got new employees?
We are. Yep. We're doing great. Yep. They're wonderful. I've got a great crew.
Okay.
So, yep.
Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank
Steve,
you.
do you have anything?
No, thank you, Naomi.
Thanks.
Naomi, thank you very much.
Rachel, mental health. Right? Right? We gotta just find it.
What number is it? 60,
Yep.
60.
All right, Rachel.
Rachel,
Okay, so ours is a little bit different than some of the other departments because we are now fully state appropriated. So we are money in, money out essentially for Marion County. We will receive our funds from the fiscal agent from Monroe County. So I did the 4% bucket. We did have some staff leave. Looking at Jake. No, it was a good move for Amanda. So we show a decrease overall because we didn't fill that position. But yeah, last year we were able to get our 2 staff up to that median wage. So the 4% works out for the department.
Okay, it's across, do they set that 4% then? Is that where that's coming from, or is that? No, that's just
so
coming from the
Marion
state.
County would set Marion County employees'
Okay.
salary.
this is something we have to kind of clarify every
Yep.
year, is that although the state has formed cross regions, all of the staff members are still technically employees of the counties other than Rachel.
Yep.
Rachel is the only employee of the region as CEO. It is.
Yeah.
Rachel and I have gone, we've had many
It's
meetings with
convoluted,
state
yes.
legislators on how stupid that is, but
is
nobody wants to
very-
change it. Because she has technically no authority over the staff members in the cross region.
Yeah.
But yet we're supposed to run mental health reform. How's that work?
Yeah.
So, but Rachel does an outstanding job. Every one of our board members relies on her for her expertise. She goes to all the legislative meetings. I know she's been there with me a lot. So I think we're very well served with her knowledge of social services and how this works. And if they had a system that she could really flourish in, we would do some great work.
And we're so unbudget related, but there is discussion of mergers, regional realignment. So I have been having those discussions with another region. We've been told that it's best if we do it willingly.
Oh.
So I think those are very real discussions that would get us to a place of a single employer of record, which is something we've been trying to work on and off over the last 5 years. So it would just look different for the region as a whole.
And also keep in mind, just from a taxpayer standpoint, the legislature erased the levy for mental health. So we no longer as a county levy for that. That all comes from state funding. We submit an operations plan. Rachel puts that together. The board approves that plan. It goes to the state. They get a chance for rebuttal amendments, changes, and say, here are your dollars. So that all flows from DHS.
Yep.
It no longer emanates from the county,
And there is
sort of.
a push.
It's just another way to reshuffle the dollars.
Yeah, we have been instructed to work on almost like a statewide plan. So
Wow.
every region's plan would mirror to an extent the others. There's also a push to change the composition of our boards. That no more than 49% of our board would be elected officials. So, they're moving everything away from it.
Good.
Happy news. Good budget question.
Right, no. Pretty self-explanatory, yeah. Yeah. I don't have anything further if anybody else does.
No, thank you, Rachel.
Yeah, Rachel, thank you.
Chris?
Just looking forward at your schedule, we are running ahead of schedule.
Okay.
Public health and the rest of the agenda aren't scheduled till 1.
Is Chris the last one on this one?
think so.
Yes,
Oh.
Yes.
I'll have extra time for a break.
do you want to have a break? We were contacting Kim to see if she could go sooner or if she needs to be at 1.
Nope, I can come out if you want me to.
So just wondering what your thoughts are.
I'm
Well,
open
if
to
you wanna
whatever
keep
guys
going.
wanna do.
Well, I know after Chris goes, I'm gonna need a break.
We could have a small, we could have a small break and then whatever you feel.
It can be, it can be small. It doesn't have to be. When is she on? 1 o'clock?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we can take we could take half hour or something, grab coffee and whatever. That'd be great.
So
If
it's
that's
not
what you
even
wanna
10
do.
o'clock yet.
yeah.
So I
yeah,
just
mean,
wanted to be mindful of the schedule and what
But
you
I
were
feel
looking
like I'm
forward.
working really hard.
So if, Kim, could you be out here at 10:30? Does that work?
Sure, that'll work.
Okay.
Just wanted.
Perfect.
Think in 5 minutes, we'll probably be done. Well, good morning, board.
Good morning. What's your number?
Number.
51.
Yep.
51, yes.
We should-
So
We should do that. We should
Area
give people-
51.
No, we should give people tags.
I
with
like
their-
it.
with
You know,
their
the
numbers.
interesting thing, that was my football number.
Really?
So I should just wear my old football jersey in. I
Can
like
you have
it.
the helmet?
I don't fit in there, but that's all right. So I'll just give you a real quick, pretty straightforward this year for facilities. Probably the thing I'm proudest of most is over the last 3.5 years, when I took this position, our department, 70% of all work was completed by outside vendors. We are less than 2% today. That is all being done in-house with less maintenance tech staff.
That's excellent.
So
That is excellent.
as you can see, the only thing really to address on the salary line, you see 15.84% on my staff salary line. The reason for that is we added a custodial staff member mid-year. So that is taken into consideration. If you run all the numbers, I use the 5% model for bucket for that, but I did have to bring that number up because we added
Yeah.
Doreen's position.
The aggregates.
Yes.
Higher, yeah.
Yes. We shaved 46,000 out of the budget this year. I told you all if you were willing to commit dollars to get things fixed, that I would be willing to, at some point in time, start lowering the budget. And we're starting to reap the benefit of actually being proactive and fixing what needs to be fixed. So I'm very confident with that 46,000 that we pulled out. That was for no other reason than I just don't think it's money we need to have in there at this point. Those
Excellent.
line items that we pulled it out of, I think you could easily see, but I dropped everything out of 6th Street. We're not talking a massive dollar amount. I think it came out to be like $7,000 that we usually had budgeted for 6th Street for both fixed plant equipment and general maintenance. I pulled that out entirely. We dropped minor equipment and hand tools. We have spent a lot of money getting the equipment we need over the last 3.5 years, and we're getting to the point where, we can start dropping things like that. I pulled, again, like I said, the 6th Street dollars are out. I dropped fixed plant equipment, 3014 East Main. That primarily did things like water heaters. You think about our air conditioners, furnaces, those were all replaced this last fiscal year. So that stuff we don't need to have as high. I did leave a little bit in there for that. Drop some money out of public health, the repair and maintenance side, about 5,000 out of it, for the simple fact, a lot of our fixed plant equipment out there, we've updated with ARPA funds. So, courtyard maintenance, drop that one completely out. That was $1,500 we typically spent on flowers and things, and that was actually a duplicate line item I found this year. So we just dropped that out entirely. Plumbing equipment we pulled out of the law enforcement center. We have basically replumbed that entire building in the last 3 years. So hopefully we're done buying copper there. You will see I did a slight increase to courthouse because we're going to start fully replumbing that building now. It desperately needs it.
Chris, is that something when you talk about replumbing? I mean, are you physically removing or is that putting, I didn't know how big the lines were.
No, that's
that were coming.
physically removing. Yeah, what the problem with that whole system, both of our major buildings run off of loop systems. They're not necessarily forced air. I mean, they are forced air from the concept that we have blower fans that are being blowing air over coils. But all of those coils are both cooled and heated through a water loop system. Over the years, there was no real water treatment plan out there for the bulk of the life of both those buildings. And some of those pipes were, an 1.5 inch pipe was corroded so bad, you just couldn't clean it up. I mean, you had maybe a 1/4 inch worth of flow available, and that's just inefficient. It runs all that debris through the system. It ruins equipment. So instead of trying to go through a 10-year, let's try to clean these pipes, we just gutted a lot of it and redid a lot of it. That's the same thing we're currently going to start doing at the courthouse. So yeah, at the end of the day, board, we're sitting in a pretty good shape. I think my general service went up 0.17% with the additional staff member over last year. So everything's good there. I would tell you I wouldn't be able to walk back to my office if I didn't say this. The 5% my staff is grateful for. So I was supposed to share that with the 3 of you. They did not anticipate it being that way, and they are grateful. And I should say that to both of you, or all 3 of you, both of you. I
Thank you.
can't
No.
count today. So
Hey, I have a couple questions for you. The snow removal, obviously, are you guys, because we've had some in the past, are you doing that? When it talks about, the courtyard?
we do 100% snow removal.
Okay, so you.
We've
but
done
you-
100% since I've been on. The reason I left snow removal where it is the replacement cost of a plow is extremely expensive, and almost that entire piece of equipment is a wearable item. I broke 2 cylinders last year or the year before, and it was $2,800. I mean, it's one of those deals where, and then 9,000 of that typically is salt. We spend about $9,000 in salt a year, believe it or not.
Okay. And then, on your general supplemental, I know that you had an increase. Is that because you went back through and looked
On
at?
the hell, yep,
yeah.
that was the last thing I was gonna hit.
Okay,
So that's on me, 100%. I own it. So what I had done since day one is I had kept the old numbers and just done incremental increases based upon those old numbers because the department was quite a bit larger prior to me coming on board. Well, after I did an audit and got with our HR department, who was wonderful about giving me all the information on my health insurance benefits. Wow. I was a little bit under, as you could see.
Yeah.
So there is an increase on that, and that is due purely to me this being my first year of actually doing an audit on that line item.
Nope. No worries.
thank you, Chris.
Good.
I appreciate you, going through and really, seeing where you could cut and, tell your staff, we appreciate, the comments and we appreciate them. And, I know that the courthouse and the other buildings, even when I have showed up on a Sunday to pick up my packet or whatever, it's always cleared. It's always, ready to go. And so I appreciate that. So, appreciate the cleanliness of the buildings too. So thank you.
Sorry, I
Anybody's-
didn't. That was 7 minutes.
You're
Apologize.
good.
You want to talk about
That
anything
gives
else,
us
or-
another, 35 minutes.
So you just wanted a longer break. That's why you're rushing me out.
I didn't say that. See how you are. All right, if there's we can go into, make a motion for a
Motion
break.
for recess, 30 minutes. I'm sorry, 35 minutes.
10:30. All right. You have a second? I'll second. All right, I will turn this over to, I believe, Mark, you had something with,
Yeah, no, thank you. Well, since we're way ahead on time, I thought this would be a good opportunity for Lindsay and Jake to talk about a project we started last fall. Yeah, so one of the things I'd been thinking about over the years of being on the board is how to systematize the budgeting process. Basically putting it to more of an Excel spreadsheet format, lessen the reliance on these books and provide more granular data if necessary, just like we're asking for now. When you look at the roll up on multiple departments, we're always asking, well, how many employees? What's the salary increase by employee? And then how to compare previous budgets to the current budget. So Jake and Lindsay took this project on at their own risk, and listened to me rant and rave a little bit, and have come up with a test model for us to look at. It's nothing that we're using this year for budget, but it is something that we can utilize going forward in a test environment just to see if it works. And so there's my tee up. Lindsay, Jake, I'll let you guys.
Well, I'll go first just to say that, I ran the reports from Solutions and sent them to Lindsay, and she's been creating all the documents. So she definitely, built these. So thanks to her for that. She understands how these flow and the target we wanted to get to. So just want to make sure that,
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
Because this is something that I've talked about before. I think I've talked about it with your department. So the AS400, like when you Excel spreadsheet, it doesn't necessarily merge at all. It doesn't communicate very well together.
well, like for these budget worksheets, we can create them on paper or in an Excel form, but it's basically just a picture. It doesn't have formulas. It doesn't calculate. It doesn't do anything like that. It doesn't interact to fund balances or be able to show. So we can create a picture in time, but then to like make it interactive, or in the future, if the boards use this model, or the boards or the departments want to use this model, or you can use it here so you can show a change, shows a fund balance change or something like that. That was kind of the targeted goal. And so we created a picture in time. Lindsay's been working on for some time these interactive sheets.
Okay.
Yeah, the goal is to make the process cleaner, allow for granularity when we need it, but also to do the real-time modeling. And
Yeah,
in
these
the
are
current
literally
system.
from the budget worksheets, just like you see
Yep.
on paper, and just like some departments do like to get them that way, and then they build their, sum the total or whatever. So this is exactly what comes from the 400.
Because I think the question I asked was, I guess I don't always understand the 400, but why we couldn't, the departments do fill it in and then it's submitted to you and then, you upload it, but that's not the way the AS400 works. So that's
Well,
my
yeah.
understanding. And
It's the way it works best for us. They don't have access to all that administrative side. So that's why it has to come in.
And
My
I get
side
that. I'm
does
not-
have
yeah.
some ability, if we get to a point where we're using this exclusively, to use the columns and to try and import into the budget software. Right now we're manually entering, which is what it is. But there is that possibility as well if this project continues. It's like I said, this is just test mode at this
Yep.
point.
so
Appreciate that.
Lindsay, take it away.
So with the reports from Jake, I created this workbook, and the way it's set up is that every department has 2 tabs. There's an expense tab and a revenue tab if that department generates revenue. So these are actually 2 screens of the same workbook. What's on the left is the summary, which lists each department revenue and expense by fund. So in the very left-hand column, you have the fund and then the department and then the numbers. It goes all the way back to 2018, but for argument's sake today, we're just showing 2023 and 24. And so then partway through, then here's the beginning fund balance for Fund 1 in 2023, 24, and then so forth on down that page. So this information is all formulated from the tabs. So for example, on the right-hand side is the public health expense tab for 2024. And I've inputted all the proposed numbers. So the fund balance in the left-hand sheet
includes all of those. So if I was to change something in Kim's budget for public health, it would automatically populate that difference in the fund balance on the summary tab.
Can you show us?
So for example, if we were to delete this, then on the left-hand side, you see that it's now 7.8 million. And so forth. So then during the budget process, if we wanted to make adjustments, we could do that, you know, sort of a scenario type situation. What if this, what if that? And then we could make those changes and see the fund balance for all of the funds. And then as Mark and Jacob mentioned, we can use it as a budget tool. If department heads want to do that, they can do their budgets electronically. You can have access to these electronically rather than having paper if you wish. And then another idea is that going forward, we can use it to project. So if all of the expenses increase at the same rate in the next 5 years, what does our fund balance look like 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road, and so forth?
Excellent.
And then the same with revenue as well. We can anticipate revenue going forward.
Yeah, see, and that's for what I've wrestled with for 10 years on this board are those two items. How do you real-time model out projected increase? So if you continue to go at a certain rate and you can average the rate, we could do weighted averages. Lindsay can program in different formulas to give us an idea, not that that's going to be, you know, spot on to the penny, but at least from a board standpoint, you can start to look in the out the front window instead of always looking in the rear window. And that's been our biggest dilemma. We can program in variables based on assessments and those things to give us an idea of at different revenue levels, just like what Jake showed us this morning, what that would look like. So it just allows, I think, a little more real-time interaction and more clarity to that process on a going forward basis.
Right.
Lindsay, is that fair?
Yeah, that's fair. And at this point, it's very basic. I mean, this is the beginning stages. We can add things in, like Mark mentioned, having a list of employees instead of just the budget line item. We can do that. Just whatever seems to be helpful. It's a work in progress, so we can change things and adapt them as we go forward.
I like it.
So if you do like this, one of the things I would encourage the two of you to do is spend some time talking to Jake and Lindsay about it. Maybe have her walk you through it on a more personal one-on-one level. And what would you like to see? So,
And do you have columns like for previous year's budget?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it goes
and so
back-
Steve, we can show 1 year, up on
Yeah.
those screens, we could
So this
put up
is-
multiple years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, we went back to 2018, and so far this is just the information that's in those month-end reports that Jake sends out. So I sort of manipulated it, so it's just the budget, the use, and then the percentage. And then down at the bottom, we've talked at different points about the budget to actual. So how much of the budget are we actually spending from year to year? So we can add different calculations there. Some of the tabs have like a salary percentage, how much the salary is of the total expenses for each department. So anything like that, that's helpful. It's
Yeah,
not hard to add.
It's kind of like the point I made earlier, you know, we're looking at the numbers. We're not concerned, well, we are concerned about staffing issues, but then it all boils down to numbers. That's what we have to be concerned about.
Right.
Yeah, the future of sustainability. Yep.
So I guess on a go forward basis, there are really two elements to this. Number one, if we continue to build it out, that's going to require time and maybe even an allocation of dollars. If we like this, probably not a lot, because Lindsay right now is within the public health department. Is that? And that's how we allocate salary right now. So she's kind of doing two jobs.
She's working in the public health department.
Yeah. Wink, not. So there might be some of that we have to think about, but I think before we get there, it's for you to meet with her, go through this in a, on a one-on-one basis. And what do you want to see when you look at budgets? So what are those things that Lindsay can build into the system? Again, not making it overly complex, because the idea is not to make it overly complex, but what are those data points that are relevant to you as you look at budgets? And then how do we keep that updated on a real-time basis? And I think we've got a real good start at a tool here that could make this process, A, more transparent, and B, better for future boards to use to manage the dollars.
Well, I think it's even going to be useful to everybody, department heads and everybody. They
Hope so.
Then they can understand what the bottom line is.
Yeah.
Easier
Yeah,
overall view.
yep. So, good.
It's kind of interesting to think that there hasn't been a program like this before. I mean, maybe it's, I don't know. It seems like in the government world, it's kind of, not with the 21st century.
No, it's not.
I mean, it is hard, and I don't disagree because I am used to Excel, and that's where I was just like, this is when I look at this, I'm like, oh, well, to me, like I said before, you should be able to enter this, and then it's sent. That doesn't mean that they're touching anywhere of the software in
Right.
which, but it's just so then they could upload it. But I think this process could simplify this and transparency and smoothness.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. So anyway, my thanks to Jake.
Yeah.
And to Lindsay and to Kim for the hours they spent with me having to endure what I wanted to try to get out of this project. So as we move forward again, meet with them and then we'll regroup here maybe after budget to think about where we go from here. Make sense?
That sounds good.
All right, Lindsay, thank you very
All right, you're
much.
welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
No,
All right. Miss Kim. We're popular today. Look at all those people online. Right? We're popular.
All right. Which one you want to start with?
Let's do what we have, public health.
You want to start? Oh, okay. We're gonna go from hard to easy. Okay.
Well, I mean, did you want to do it differently? I guess
Nope.
I'm just going in line
We'll
so that
just
I don't
go-
forget something.
Nope, this is fine.
Okay.
All righty. So, the Public Health Department has seen some really, really big change over the past year. And we have, changed from helping people to developing systems. The State Health Department has moved the programming that, helps individual families and such to a different organization. And so our primary function at this point is emergency preparedness, immunizations, and some of those more core public health items rather than service to people. So I think that as the state continues to consolidate programs and departments at the state level, I'm not sure whether they're going to touch us again. I hope not, but it's not beyond the realm of possibility. So this budget, you'll see, is primarily doing emergency preparedness and response type work. And when you look at the revenue is very different. But we also have a new contract from the state that is a very large contract that kind of, I put the whole thing in. And so it kind of didn't even out. So I do want to make a change in the expenditure side. So we'll talk about that.
Okay.
Okay. I put in a 6% increase for staff. I apologize. I've been gone a lot and have, and so I can make any changes that you want to do for that. But I did put in a 6% increase for the bucket. And, as we have lost programs, we've lost staff, we've lost about 15 people. And at the same time, we gained a few staff members through the preparedness and response. So we're at 15. So it wasn't an even swap out. Okay. Let's see. If you look at it from the line items, our line items for expenditures are much lower this year. That's a good thing, and it's to be expected. The most things that we do are still covered under grants, but not all. We have a couple of employees that are still doing some work here in the county that their grant went away. And so one of the things that I need to be more clear on is what exactly is my ask from the county for dollars. And I figured that up, and it'll be about $230,000 is what my expected request is. And that is as long as I don't get any more crazy curveballs thrown at me from that nobody can control. And then we just have to talk again about what we're gonna do. But that 230,000, part of that is my salary. Part of it is a couple of folks that used to be covered under programming, but we still need their expertise in the department to help people in the community. I've moved people around as best I can to make sure that we are pulling down all of the contracts that as best we can with what staff we've got. I have there's a few of us that it's not like one person is covered under one grant. We've got people who wear a couple different hats. Now I'm going to use Christina as an example. She's the assistant director. So she does some things that are very administrative, but she also works in she's our immunization. She and Judy are our immunization experts. And so so part of her time is covered under the immunization grant, but certainly not all. So we kind of paste things together to get everybody covered in the best way we can.
Kim, can I stop you there with a question?
Sure.
So in the past, and if I remember right, when I first started, this number was higher than that we as the county, was it like 400 and some that we as the county would have to pay for?
Yeah,
I mean, I know that
it's
you try to
varied
find
over-
grants
It's
as much as
varied over
possible.
the years. It really has varied, but we've gone everywhere from 100,000 to, I think our highest was probably 400.
It's 400 in the old days.
Yeah, it was kind of routinely 400 in the old days, and then we
Was
did
that
a
it?
bunch of
Okay.
But it's
consolidating
been,
and,
last year was in the 130s
yeah,
because we thought we'd have all that other,
we thought
all
that
those
we'd
other
have-
dollars.
Yeah, our
So-
COVID year was a bad year. We used a lot of money during COVID
Right.
year. But yeah, I mean, in the early days, it was 300 to 400,000 routinely.
Yeah, back
Yeah.
with Jim and Craig and
Right.
those, it was consistently above 400.
Right.
Yeah.
And some other things that we do now that have helped the overall county budget is, we brought in senior nutrition, and you'll see in the budget that on the revenue side on public health and the expense side on senior nutrition, I put in $10,000 because my plan is to bill the senior nutrition budget for the time for administering that from one of these staff members that's not covered by a grant.
Yeah, so I want to build on Keisha. I think, now, stop me if you're not going this direction though. From a taxpayer standpoint, one of the things we highlight in your budget pretty much every year, and I think it's still true this year, even though we've had all the program changes because of state action, we are still asking the taxpayers to put up far fewer dollars for public health, senior nutrition and GA, general relief, than we did 5, 7, 8 years ago. I mean, that number has gone down materially.
Oh, like $500,000.
Yeah, so I
Yeah.
think that's.
Yeah, and I
think that-
appreciate you.
I think
trying to-
that's the point that we
Yeah.
need to really highlight to folks is that we're still we're structured in a way where grant dollars feed the services. And if the services aren't needed and the grants aren't available, people have to find new jobs.
Right.
Which sounds cold, but that's what just happened,
Right.
right?
Very tough year, yeah.
Yeah, it was rough. But, you know, we all made it through.
And I appreciate your sincerity of trying to think, how can we do this so that it isn't, we're not asking any tax dollars money. And I appreciate, because I can see what you're trying to do. I mean, but we do need to provide services. I understand, that
Yeah.
aspect of it.
Yeah. So like I said, with senior nutrition, you'll see that there's $10,000 in their expenditures. There's $10,000 in revenue in the public health budget. The same as for general relief, only I believe I put in $5,000 for general relief in their expenditure and $5,000 in revenue in the public health, just so that we're still tracking according to what we're doing, so that you know exactly what each one of those things is still costing. And a project that we have coming up this year, and I don't know if Jeff has already talked with you about it or not, but he's doing a project with the schools in the county through the I Love You Guys organization, and it's an emergency preparedness project, and he's asking for some public health time to help with making sure that CPR is available, stop the bleed, and what's the other one? CPR, stop the bleed, first aid, probably Narcan, I would imagine also might be part of that. But to make sure that the staff members in the schools are trained in all of those things. And so that's not covered by any grant. And so those expenses for that would be considered a county expense in this budget.
And would that be something that you would do yearly then, or is this an ongoing expense, or is
that-
it
as I understand from Jeff, that would be an ongoing expense. There would be a planning year, a training year, and an exercise year. And it just kind of rotates, as how I understand it. But I'm going to let him give you the details on it, because he knows the whole scope of what the project is, and I know my little piece. But one of the things that is in that is, preparing students and staff for, the things that we hope never, ever happen. And one of the issues that we need to plan around is that each of the kids with an IEP or 504 plan needs to have the same safety needs addressed as all the other kids. And they have a different level of understanding, and it's got to be addressed in their education plans. And so that is more of an individualized thing that we may have to work with. And that will, my staff member Stacy is the one that I'm kind of thinking might be a really good fit for that. But that would be, again, the county's, in that amount of money that I'm asking for.
Kim, does that 230 also cover health insurance? Or do some of the grants defray
The grants pay for health insurance. But when we bill a grant, we bill for time and benefits.
Okay, okay.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that. All right.
So yeah, that is included in that. So, let's see, trying to think what else couple of other things to think about. When we had maternal child health and oral health and all those, we had a lot of vehicles, and we still have a lot of vehicles. We have too many vehicles at this point. And so we currently have 2 vans, 1 older flex, 3 cars and a Jeep. And then we've got the environmental health truck, and we've got that little white truck that doesn't run. We need to get rid of that. And the senior nutrition truck, we need to get that thing gone too. So of the vehicles that we have, we can sell them, and none of what we're doing with the vehicles is not in here, other than you don't see a mileage line item, because there's an auto, or there's a vehicle line item. So we don't bill, we don't pay employee mileage. We expect them to use those vehicles. So, but we have more than we need, so we can sell them. We can sell them to another department. I really don't care what we do with them. I just don't want them to sit there and not be, and just waste away. So if you have thoughts on what you'd like to see happen with that, I would be really happy to hear those.
So how many do you, you said 2 vans and 3 cars, and then you have those others that one doesn't run and then the other is the
Yeah,
food
we have
nutrition.
a flex that it's over 10 years old, but it still runs. It's,
Do you have,
Mm.
but that doesn't, you have
Right.
vehicles set aside that you're gonna use, that you're keeping?
I think that we would need 1 van, and I think we could sell a van and a car easily and not miss it.
Okay.
Um,
Don't we have that, whether you put something up on auction or it's,
yeah,
you know.
they're all pretty new vehicles. They are, well, not all, but the 2 vans and 3 cars, they're pretty new vehicles.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and those, they are, what, 3 years old? The 5 of the vehicles are 3 years old and all have under 40,000 miles on them.
Good.
So they should be able to.
Probably, honestly, to me, I would think that we'd want to try to look at maybe selling them on Purple Wave if nobody needed them within,
Yeah, well, I want to check to make sure
Departments.
there aren't other departments that would like to buy them first, or if they've got a request in or something,
Sure.
for, I don't know, just tell me what you want me to do with them.
Well, no, I'd check with the other departments, and
Yeah.
if there's no need, then get
Then-
rid of them.
then we'll get 'em gone.
Cash, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and to get rid of them if it's not interdepartmental, like Kim asked this question earlier, before today, but disposition of county property does have to go through a process. So it needs to be on a public auction house, it has to be publicly known, or if it's done locally, sealed bids or something like that. But it does need to go through that disposition of county property process.
okay.
You
Okay,
can't just
so-
put it out along the road.
Yes.
No, you can't.
Appreciate that,
I-
Jake. No,
I want to say Keokuk County found that out recently.
Is that right?
oops.
So coordinate with
Yep.
Jake, and
I will do that.
don't set them out by the road.
Okay, all right. So I think that's all I have for that budget, unless you have questions for me.
I have a couple questions for you. So I just want to make sure that I understand your income and expenses.
Yeah, I need to,
Yeah, is there something that, because
yeah,
we look at, looking at the fund balance, that's what I'm just looking at, yeah.
yeah, because I wasn't thinking in terms of county budget when I did this. I was thinking about my budget. How about that? So if we would change the contract amount, the contract services, to change it from 1,149,820, and we move that, change that to 1,934,980, then, that, if we change that one, and if we change,
What was that again? Kim?
Right here on.
here,
down
I'll give
here
it
on
to
this,
you.
1,934,980.
That-
Okay, great. That'd be perfect.
Thank you.
Jake, do you need it? Do you have a? Want this copy? Yeah.
You can. Okay, this is my cheat sheet. Okay, so contract services. If you change that, do you see where it says
Yep.
change from to
Yep.
change to?
Yep.
In the yellow? Okay, so if you do that, and then if we change the miscellaneous program supplies from 70,000 to 100,000, then it evens it out and the
So Jake, that change, as we talked about yesterday, the change to general fund.
It's direct, that would be a direct reduction of that projected fund balance.
That's that 800,000 we were
That's the-
talking about yesterday.
Yes.
Okay,
Come down.
so I just asked Lindsay to plug that into the magic sheet and see what that does and see if we.
Great.
Okay. All right. So that, yeah, that would be the line item thing that we need to get
Okay.
shored up. Okay, any other questions on public
Um,
health budget?
No, Kim, I mean, in regarding the salary, I'm looking more at the 5% bucket. And
Okay,
if you're
we
able to
can
work
make
with
that
that, I don't know
adjustment.
what, let the others speak on behalf of them.
The-
What did I write down?
I think it was
It's fine.
5.
Yeah.
I think
Thought
it
it was
was
5.
5. And the Board of Health passed this budget pending approval of the Board of Supervisors. So whatever you tell me to plug in there is what I'm gonna plug in.
I think we were both at 5
Okay,
on that. And so,
okay, so I will make that adjustment also.
appreciate it.
All righty. And I will do the same on environmental.
Great, thank you.
All right. Okay, any other questions on the public health budget?
No, no. And what, do you have, once you have those numbers, if you could just let us know, I'd appreciate that. All right. Did you have anything on, going on to?
Are you ready for the next one?
Yeah, if you guys,
Okay.
unless anybody else has any other questions?
No.
Okay. Environmental
Okay.
health?
Environmental health, you'll see that we do not have a program manager in environmental health yet. I have not replaced, Lee. And part of that is we're in our slow season, but I also kind of want to wait until some of this shakes out. Because I think that the number of builds are going to be down for a while. And I'm not sure that there's actually one FTE worth of work that we should expect in the next year. And so I don't think that, so I'm kind of, I plugged it in so that we have the
Sure.
money
Yep.
for that position, but I haven't filled it yet. Hopefully that decision would be made before the 1st of July.
Right.
But I'm wondering if there aren't some, this isn't an opportunity to look at the system in general and see whether there's, Cameron's gonna need backup and Missy provides backup right now, and I can do some things for Cameron and to back him up. But before we go ahead and hire somebody, I just want to have the opportunity for everybody to think about, is there something different that we want, or do we want to just continue on doing the same thing?
Okay.
So this budget is going on and doing the same thing, but we don't have any, it's not posted. I think that the number of builds will be down. So we will look at it, and if it's passed this way, we'll still, we'll only spend what we need to spend.
Appreciate that, Kim. I think we do need to look at that and how we're gonna proceed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, last year we had a vehicle in the budget, because I've been hearing for several years, oh, the green truck's gonna die, the green truck's gonna die. Well, it's not died yet. But the Jeep in that other configuration of, the Jeep can become an environmental vehicle.
I
So
think that's a great
so-
idea.
done.
And we could possibly auction or however we want to proceed on the green truck.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, we can do that, or I don't know, wait for it to die. I don't. I'm a drive it till it catches on fire in the driveway person.
We'll have some, yeah, well,
I had that. experience.
We won't tell our safety work comp.
Yeah.
coordinator.
No, no.
Lisa, you didn't hear that.
Yeah, no, la, la, la. Okay. All right. Anything else in environmental?
I don't.
No, I
Okay.
mean,
Senior nutrition.
Senior nutrition?
Here it is. For 39. Oh, there's nothing in it. Okay.
nothing there.
Senior nutrition, it is very much the cost of meals.
Okay.
And then that $10,000 that we put in for paying the health department side of for staffing it. I think that going with Mom's Meals was a really good thing. We don't have to bill Medicaid anymore because Mom's Meals does it. So how that's working is when somebody asks for meals, then we go do the intake. And if they fall on the sliding fee scale at the cost of the actual meal or more, where what used to be that we would charge like $11 for a meal if their income was high enough. Now we just refer them on over and we're out. We make the referral. And so the only people that we have really have in that program now are people who are indigent, who need help with paying, and they fall on that sliding fee scale. And then we pay Mom's Meals for the meal, and then we bill them their $1 or $2 or whatever it is for that meal.
Okay.
Who facilitates the delivery of those meals?
Mom's Meals.
Mom's Meals does that?
Yeah, the company does. So they deliver them. They take care of all of it. They help them with deciding what meals they want to
So,
order.
Yeah,
They're
the
able to go pick
Heart
what
friendly,
they
the
like.
diabetic friendly,
Mhm.
whatever, yeah.
So the program is still available to all rural residents also?
It's, you told me that we could do that. I don't know that we've had, I'd have to check to see whether
Yeah.
we've had anybody that's picked up on it, but,
Okay.
but we've made it available.
Okay, that's
Because they just deliver them to their door. I mean, you
Right,
order,
right.
yeah.
Yeah, you'll see the Mom's Meals truck around once in a while, that they're heading out to, out in the country.
Yep.
And it's kind of it's a refrigerator truck.
Hmm.
Yeah, and some of them come in the mail.
really.
Yeah. Well, UPS. But, so we, with those, we need to make sure that the people are able to get it in the door and get it properly stored and such. But it seems to be working.
Interesting.
Okay,
All right.
Yeah, no,
General,
that's a great evolution of that program to where we match dollars for actual need.
Yeah.
As opposed to what we used to do. I couldn't be happier with that.
all right. And then general assistance, you'll see that we're asking for, last year what did we ask for last year? 35? About 35,000, and this year we're asking for 34,900. So it's, and we are billing general assistance by encounter. So, so it's $25 per encounter. So. Yeah, so put in, yeah, so I put in $5,000 for that. So otherwise, that's it. Medical examiner,
Yes.
wanna go ahead with that one? And that budget, we met with the medical examiner team and looked at the budget, and the only thing they wanted to change in the budget from last year is they had $5,000 in for educational and training, and they felt like there was some educational need coming up. So they asked me to put 10,000 in, and so I took $5,000 out of body transport because we haven't really used as much of that as we thought we would for this year. So it's an even budget request.
Very good.
Great. No.
Let's see, I guess the other thing about that budget is that right now, it's still handled a little bit piecemeal. Some of the bills come to Jake, some of them are generated from us, that Terry puts them together from the spreadsheet from the work that they do. And so we're kind of wondering if you would like for all of it to come through one of us. I don't know, Jake, if you're open to just having those bills all come to us, and then we have Terry look at them. I'll sign off on them so that there's that arm's length thing. And then
Yeah.
Lindsay can just handle it.
Again, I think we talked about this last year at this time, and that's kind of what we thought the direction that you guys were gonna, I mean, there's a variety of bills. If you want us to forward every one of the ones that come out of Department 28 to you, we sure can. Right
Yeah.
now, autopsies come in, medical
Mhm.
examiner investigators,
Yeah.
all those, I mean, that's fine. If you want, we can sure make that rule that everything goes out to you guys.
I think that way, there's one department handling all of it, and you'll be able to see all of it.
Yeah,
And just forward them to Lindsay. If that works for everybody.
Okay, but most of it come in the mail, or it would just be through interoffice mail. I mean, we got a request from, I happened to open the mail that day from, like Cedar, Blackhawk County, for somebody that had passed away there. There was a Marion County resident, so they had to pay the MEI, and then they'd send us the bill for $50 or whatever. It's
Yeah.
just all stuff like that. Transportation from the funeral homes.
Yeah,
Stuff from the state, and then you'll have to also then watch if someone it's where the incident occurs, so there is an
Mhm.
opportunity to bill the other county. So like
Right.
Marion County does have to pay things that aren't Marion County resident. You have the opportunity to bill that county. It's kind of hard to know when the services are done. There's an MEI, there's an ME, there's an autopsy. We never really know. Our transportation bill gonna come in later. But I mean, that would involve all of that if you guys want to.
yeah, and then we can track it down and,
When do we start?
whenever you're ready.
Got that, Danny?
Yeah. So,
That's, I think that's it. I was looking at my sheet.
I think
don't know what I
that's-
did with it. You took it.
that's all I've got, unless you've got something else for me.
All right.
I apologize that I had not included the senior nutrition pages in there. It's a non-budgetary fund, and when I did not print the non-budgetary funds. So I apologize for that. They're being emailed to you right now.
Okay, great. And Lindsay, do you have a recap? Were you able to get that? For everything? Meaning like,
In total, between the 5% and 6%. So when we move
Okay.
it down to 5%,
okay,
it makes a difference of $7,300 So it's $3,498,677 total budget.
I like this program already.
And you probably, and Jake, if you could let us know at some point what that looks like on the cash flow reports. That
Yeah,
would be
so,
great. Yeah.
that, there's a very material change there on those
That you had.
expenses that we kind of touched on yesterday. I mean,
So
that,
that takes that
is-
7 down $800,000.
just in your head, that, ending,
So
the
69.
gain, quote unquote
6.9, yeah.
gain on the general fund, with that takes it down to 300 at this point.
Yep.
So that's a material change. Yeah. For the general fund.
All right.
Very good.
And I mean, and I will give you updated cash flows, to see how, I don't know how quickly you want that.
And then miscellaneous, if there's anything that, buddy, I don't know what we have.
That was just a catch, that was a, if something needed, and it's 11:15. If we're done for the day, we're done. And if you want to talk about Department 99 or something like that, we can. That's a placeholder.
We've got to wrap up, I know, on Friday, and I do think that it would be good that if we could, finalize some of those things after we hear all the departments. And then we have, it looks like full schedule for tomorrow.
Where do we
we
have
could do-
the raises?
Mhm.
Where do we have comp board and raises and those things?
That's up to you guys. When you
So
want to do that, if you want to wait till Friday, or
we're
if you
gonna,
want to,
we wanted to do
you
it.
wanna
as
do it
wrap
tomorrow.
up and
So there's a-
after
there's a
we hear
place-
from everybody, or-
sorry, there's a placeholder place like this on each day.
Yeah, well, one of the things I think we've already kind of teed this up with several departments is as far as the overall bucket of dollars that we're thinking about. So I know we had those 2 proposals up there. Do you have those, Renee, that you can pop up real quick? The 2. Yeah. I just want to get that in my head. I can't remember I can't remember what the difference was. I think Keisha was 5 across the board,
Yeah,
and
we were
I had
6,
some,
5,
I had some differences
and
by
4.
department.
And remember, this was done in a snapshot in time.
Yeah.
So fair,
Yeah, I got it.
Can't remember what that total dollar was, yeah.
so,
480, yep, okay.
I was 500.
So, and then-
$20,000 difference between the 2,
yep. And then there's yours, Mark.
503.
Okay, yep.
Okay. So Tyler's salary, his own assessment came out at 6.7. I was very pleased to see that we're close.
Mhm.
I'd like to say I did an extensive survey like Tyler did, but I did not do that. But I do think we should get to a place where we settle on one of these, because we're gonna have some departments start coming in, like the recorder. And you've got 5, I've got 4, what are we gonna do? We don't have to necessarily talk comp board yet, but just to
Right.
be able to be consistent here.
And remember, the recorder is the one that, she's taken her to 81%.
Yeah.
And I don't have that figured in this.
Right.
Which I can change, but that was one of those that we weren't sure what she was going to do with her deputy's
Yep.
salary, so.
Yep. Well, I mean, she had an overall decrease in her salary line, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got new people, so that's we'll take advantage of that for now. On our total dollars, but
Yeah.
yeah, we should have, at least get in our minds what we want to do with those before we get to a department where, is it 5, or let's take Tyler, is it 5 or is it 6.5 or is it 6.7?
Yeah.
What's that gonna be? So.
And I don't know where, if Steve, if you have thought about, where you're at with that. I see the justification when it comes to Tyler's, and especially when you put it to you've got a person, $24 an hour, and then everybody, round you's $26, when competition wise. And I mean, it's that 6.5, I understand the justification on that. And, to be able to retain, yeah.
Well, I look at it this way, Keisha. Secondary roads is our biggest budget and our largest staff. It is our primary function, just by definition, if you just look at it in terms of total employees and total budget. And we have got to be able to retain and pay these people. Statistically, they have the most dangerous job in Marion County, as far as county employees go. Our work comp rates alone, one of the reasons they've come down is because of the involvement of secondary roads and law enforcement. Those two departments account for a whole lot of our reduction in our work comp rates. So it isn't that anybody's less important, or, I mean, when I say it that way, it's just that we've got an issue, and it's been there for a while. Tyler's been very good, not necessarily highlighting it, but trying to work around it. But I think we have to give him some more fuel to work with for these people that are heavy equipment operators. So that's the whole reason for that. And I think Tyler confirmed that yesterday.
Do we have numbers, Lisa? And I don't know, and maybe this is a Lindsay question, I don't know. If we did the 6.5 and the 5, so if we get road department 6.5 and everybody 5, what that would be, I guess we could add that up. Cause you have the 6.5 and then,
Well, the biggest change, Keisha, between yours and mine is going to be that road department, because it's the most.
so it'd still be right around,
We're going to be close. If you elevate everything else on mine to 5, like you've got, and leave Tyler at 6.5, it's going
It's
to be,
35,000 more,
yeah.
is that what
you're-
it is?
roughly.
Yeah. Which way, Steve?
55 and Tyler and 5.
For everybody else?
for everybody else.
So that, what'd you say, 35?
Yeah,
So that's going to put the total allocation then somewhere at 510.
approximately, yes.
So that's less than last year, because our total allocation last year was,
Right at
oh, it was,
591 or something
yeah, it was
like
almost
that.
600,000. So we're bringing the numbers down. I can go with that. I do think we've got to, again, just like we're seeing with Tyler, you got to be careful again about the wage inflation in administrative jobs. So that's the whole reason for the differential, start to create some differences between those positions. But if you two are there, I really, my focus is the secondary roads this year on making sure that we do that. And I can go either way with the remainder. So.
Yeah.
So are you two?
I am, yeah, as I say,
5 across the
I
board,
am-
6.5 for Tyler.
Yes, that's where I'm at.
Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion then that the salary buckets be allocated 6.5% to secondary roads, 5% to remaining departments.
Move a second.
I will second that.
Connor,
Aye.
McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey.
Aye. Very good, thank you.
Thank
That's a
you. I
good-
think,
that's a
yeah,
Good resolution.
I think unless we want to talk about comp board, other than that, we can.
Not yet.
Yeah.
That'll be good. Let's keep the drama going.
All right. I would
Gotta have something for another day.
entertain a motion for adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second here, sorry. McCombs,
Aye.
Ramey,
Aye.
Johnner,
Aye.